On my wedding day, my phone buzzed as the makeup artist adjusted my veil. One text from my parents: "Don't expect anyone." No explanation, no apology. My name is Chelsea Harper. I was 29 in a white dress at a duneside venue in Outer Banks, North Carolina. I laughed at first, figuring it was their usual drama. But the music started. The doors opened. The left side, my side, was empty chairs and scattered petals. No parents, no family. I locked eyes on the man at the altar and walked, ignoring the burn in my chest. We exchanged vows, posed for photos, cut the cake like nothing happened. It did. That night, barefoot in my dress, I checked my phone. An Instagram post from my cousin. The whole family on a private beach in Hawaii, matching outfits, cocktails in hand. Caption: "Family forever." I stared until my eyes stung, then typed back, "Perfect timing." That was when I stopped chasing their approval and started reclaiming what was mine. 3 days later, my mother was pounding on my door, yelling demands, while I sat with coffee in hand. They thought ditching my wedding was the end of it. They didn't know what I was capable of. Flashback to my school years. Always overlooked, no pampering like my sister got. I worked twice as hard, took finance classes. They called beneath us just to prove myself. It only made them resent me more. Now, as the one handling their company's accounts, I held the keys. I opened my laptop and began suspending the corporate cards they'd swiped in Hawaii. Stay with me to the end, and I'll reveal exactly how their luxury escape turned into the catalyst for their total downfall. That night in our Brooklyn apartment, I sat on the edge of the bed in my wedding dress heels tossed aside, staring at my phone. The pain from the day twisted into something sharper, more focused. Michael, my husband, sat next to me, his tie-loosened jacket draped over a chair. He asked if I was okay, but I just handed him the device, showing the post again without a word. I went quiet, the kind of quiet that builds before a storm. Michael put his arm around me, his presence steady. He knew parts of my story, but not all the layers. As I leaned into him, memories flooded back from my school days in upstate New York. My parents always compared me to my sister Amanda. She got the new clothes, the extra allowance, the praise for every little thing. "Amanda's so social," Mom would say while I studied late into the night. I had to fight for every grade, every opportunity, because they never handed me anything. When I chose finance in college, they called it practical but unglamorous, like it was a disappointment. "Why not something more fitting for our family?" Dad had asked, once his tone dripping with judgment. It only made them pull away more, treating me like the outsider who didn't fit their image of success. Harper Apparel was their pride, a mid-sized fashion chain they built from a small boutique in Manhattan. They loved the spotlight, the runway events, the celebrity endorsements, but hated the numbers. That's where I came in. After college, I started as an assistant, fixing their sloppy loan applications, catching errors in vendor payments that could have sunk us. Over time, I took accounting courses on my own dime, became the one the banks trusted. "You're good with details," Mom said once, but it sounded like an insult. They promoted me to financial manager, but it was really me running the back end. When they expanded to online sales, I handled the credit lines, smoothed over overdrafts from Amanda's projects. Years ago, they signed power of attorney to me for the business accounts because it's easier if you deal with the boring stuff. It was meant to be temporary, but they never took it back. I became the safety net, paying for their business trips that were really getaways, covering when Dad forgot payroll. Michael watched as I pulled out my laptop. "What are you doing?" he asked softly. I logged into the main portal for Harper Apparel, the system I knew inside out. Account lists, corporate cards, family-linked credit, the expansion fund Amanda eyed for her spa idea. My name was on everything as joint signer. One by one, I made changes. The corporate cards they used for the Hawaii resort suspended, authorized users removed, including my parents and Amanda. The family fund placed on hold pending audit. I emailed the bank officer I'd worked with for years, explaining I was starting a full review and wouldn't approve charges without my sign-off. It felt mechanical at first, my fingers moving on autopilot, but as I hit send, a weight lifted. Michael squeezed my hand. He came from money. His family owned a tech firm in Boston, but he never flaunted it. "This is what it looks like when you stop carrying them," he said. I nodded, tears finally coming, not just for the wedding, but for every time Mom dismissed my efforts, every comparison to Amanda. He held me as I cried briefly, then pulled back. "Let me help," he offered. With his resources, he could dig deeper. He mentioned contacting his lawyer friend to check for any loans or debts tied to my name without my knowledge. "If there's anything hidden, we'll find it," he promised. We ate leftover cake from the box, the sweetness clashing with the bitterness inside me. My phone buzzed with the first confused messages from the family group chat. "Card declined at the spa, anyone else?" "Then what's wrong with the account?" I turned it face down and leaned against Michael. For the first time, I wasn't alone in this. As the hours ticked by, I double-checked the holds. The travel account paused. Vendor autopays flagged for review. It wasn't destruction. It was me stepping away from the role they'd forced on me. Michael made a call to his contact at a private firm, starting the search for those potential hidden debts. "We'll uncover whatever they've buried," he said. I felt a spark of resolve. This was just the start. 3 days later, under New York rain, I was pouring coffee in our apartment kitchen when the doorframe rattled from pounding knocks. I knew who it was before the voice pierced through. My mother, Patricia Harper, burst in when I opened it, her face flushed tan still lingering from Hawaii. She didn't greet me or mention the wedding, just hissed, "What have you done to the accounts?" I stepped aside, letting her stomp into the living room. She ranted about the resort charges, bouncing her spa session, declined having to pay personally like some ordinary person. "Do you know how embarrassing that was?" She snapped, eyes wild, not a word about skipping my ceremony. "Good morning," I said calmly, sipping my coffee. She waved it off. "Cut the act, Chelsea." The hotel manager looked at me like I was broke. "Fix it now." I set my mug down. "You chose a vacation over my wedding day, matching outfits and cocktails over your daughter. So yes, I know what I did." She scoffed. "Oh, please, it was one day. We had the trip booked months ago. You picked that dune venue knowing it conflicted. Don't burn everything over a minor thing." I laughed flatly. "My wedding isn't minor, and you booked after my save the dates. You just never thought I'd hold you accountable." She pointed a finger. "Ungrateful girl. After all we've built at Harper Apparel, you think you can cut off the money because your feelings got bruised. Embarrass us like that. Call the bank today and reverse it, and rethink that husband of yours. He's not our caliber, Chelsea. Not from the right lineage." Michael emerged from the bedroom, hair tousled in a t-shirt. He started to speak, but I raised a hand. "First, Michael is my husband. The wedding happened without you. Second, you embarrassed yourselves with that family forever post while ditching actual family. Third, nothing gets fixed." Her jaw tightened. "This is our company. My signature matters to the banks," I replied evenly. "You gave me power of attorney because you hated details, assumed I'd always cover for you no matter how you treated me." She raised her voice. "You owe us. Without us, you'd have no job." "Loyalty works both ways," I said. "You cashed mine out with piña coladas on a beach." Panic flickered in her eyes briefly, then anger returned. "Fix it or regret it." I opened the door. "You've made me regret plenty, not this." She stormed out, shouting threats down the hall. My phone rang minutes later, my Aunt Susan Reynolds. She didn't waste time. "Heard about the accounts. Your efforts were always pointless, Chelsea. From school on you tried so hard, but look where it got you, sabotaging family." I hung up without responding. Later that afternoon, Dad called. My father, Robert Harper, cleared his throat. "Chelsea, let's be reasonable. Think about the business. Your mother's upset, but we can work this out." His voice carried that familiar tone, the one he'd used when dismissing my achievements growing up. Michael took the phone from me gently. "Robert, this isn't just about money. You all chose a trip over her wedding. She's done fixing your messes." Dad paused, then tried again. "Son, stay out of family matters." Michael handed it back. "I'm her family now." I told Dad the holds stay. If you want changes, handle the paperwork yourselves for once. He sighed, mentioning the company's reputation, but I ended the call. The rain drummed against the windows as I processed it all. Michael's support grounded me. He'd already started digging into those potential hidden loans. Patricia's words stung, echoing years of belittling, but they fueled my resolve. No more enabling their entitlement. As evening fell, I checked the bank portal again. The suspensions held firm. Vendor emails trickled in questioning payments. It was unfolding just as planned. A week later, at the Harper Apparel office in Midtown Manhattan, I sat at my desk reviewing reports when my phone lit up with a string of texts from Amanda. Hey, sis, Weird Issue Bank says the family fund is on hold. I have meetings lined up for the spa lease in Soho. Landlord needs deposit this week. Can you unlock it? You know how Mom and Dad always back me on this stuff. She attached screenshots the spa concept board she'd been pushing for months, complete with mood images of luxury treatments and celebrity endorsements. Amanda had always gotten the green light for her idea's new car in high school, endless shopping sprees, even that failed boutique in college that Dad quietly funded. While I scraped by on scholarships and side jobs, she coasted. The texts kept coming. Come on, Chelsea, don't let your drama with Mom ruin my shot. I've worked hard too. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my email. A chain from vendors had arrived overnight. One from our main fabric supplier in Los Angeles. Payment bounced on auto draft. Need upfront wire for next shipment or we pause deliveries. Another from the utility company for our warehouse. Disconnect notice issued due to non-payment. Resolve within 48 hours. The hold I'd placed rippled outward, forcing cash flow issues they'd never faced before, because I'd always caught them early. Michael had been working quietly since that first night. He walked into the office around noon carrying coffee and a folder. My lawyer pulled some records, he said, sliding it across the desk. Inside were loan documents for a new luxury SUV Mom had bought last year, titled in her name, but co-signed with mine without my knowledge or consent. The signature looked forged or rushed. I'd never seen the paperwork. She used your credit to qualify for better terms, Michael explained. No disclosure to you. His family's connections let him access the credit report fast, something I couldn't do alone without raising flags. He'd already drafted a removal form for the cosigner citing lack of consent. Sign this and we send it certified. Bank will process in days. I stared at the pages, anger mixing with relief. This wasn't just oversight. It was deliberate. Michael sat beside me. You're not alone in this. We'll get your name off everything. As I signed, my phone buzzed again, this time notifications from Yelp and Google reviews. A new wave of one-star comments on Harper Apparel's pages. Love the clothes but can't support a business that skips their daughter's wedding for a vacation. Toxic family owners heard they ditched the ceremony for Hawaii. Gross entitlement. The details matched too closely. Someone had leaked the story. I scrolled further and saw a comment from a former intern. Aunt Susan told me everything. Chelsea's side was empty while they posted family forever. Shameful. Susan. My aunt had always been close to Mom, joining every trip, echoing the belittling. She'd called after the confrontation, but now it clicked. She'd spread it to old employees, turning personal betrayal into public backlash. Reviews climbed from a handful to dozens in hours, ratings dropping from 4.2 to 3.1 overnight. Customers shared screenshots of the Hawaii post next to the wedding date. The damage spread fast in the fashion world. Vendors hesitated, influencers unfollowed. I closed the laptop for a moment. Michael rubbed my back. This is what happens when they treat people as disposable. The vendor emails piled up, more demands for cash, threats to cut lines. Amanda texted again. Reviews are tanking. Fix the fund, please. I left it unread. By late afternoon, the office felt heavier. Calls from the warehouse manager about delayed shipments. I forwarded them to the general inbox. No more intercepting crises. Michael left to meet his contact for more on the loan. We'll build the case airtight, he said before going. I stayed until closing, watching the review count tick up. It wasn't vengeance. It was the natural fallout from years of taking without giving back. The facade cracked, and for once I wasn't rushing to patch it. 2 weeks later, at a quiet cafe in Chelsea's neighborhood, Michael and I met the representative from Summit Styles. The place was half empty, mid-morning sunlight filtering through the windows onto our table. We had chosen it for privacy, no chance of running into anyone from the office. The rep, a sharp woman named Elena Ramirez, arrived precisely on time, briefcase in hand. She shook hands firmly and got straight to business. "We've reviewed your proposal," Elena said, spreading documents across the table. "The valuation looks solid, higher than we initially modeled because of the back-end systems you built. Inventory tracking, vendor portals, financial dashboards, those are the real assets here." She tapped a page. "Without them, Harper Apparel would have been average. With them, it's scalable." I nodded. The numbers came from years of quiet improvements I'd made, while my parents focused on the front-end glamour. Michael had pulled together the proof of the unauthorized loan co-signature, along with bank statements showing how my credit had been leveraged without consent. Elena flipped to that section. "This strengthens your position. We can structure the deal to buy your shares outright with a clean exit clause. No non-compete that binds you forever, just standard protections." Michael leaned forward. "We've already submitted the co-signer removal form to the bank. Certified mail went out yesterday. Once processed, Chelsea's name is off the debt entirely." Elena made a note. "Good. That removes any lingering liability. Our offer stands at 8 figures contingent on audit confirmation of the systems. You walk away with cash, we get the operational edge. We negotiated details for the next hour payment schedule, equity percentage, transition support. I pushed for immediate vesting of my vested shares and no clawbacks." Elena agreed to most points, countering only on a short consulting window if needed. By the end, we had a term sheet sketched. "Send it to my lawyer for final review," I told her. She smiled. "Expect the draft by end of day." As Elena left, my phone vibrated with a text from Aunt Susan. "Selling out cheap, huh? All that hard work, and you're dumping the family legacy for pocket change. Pathetic. Mom's right, you never belonged." I read it once, then deleted the thread without replying. Her attempts to guilt or manipulate had lost their power. The words bounced off now. Meanwhile, the online storm kept building. Yelp and Google reviews had surged past 100 new entries. Customers posted side-by-side screenshots, the Hawaii beach photo versus the wedding date announcement. Comments ranged from "unbelievable family first my foot" to "boycotting until they apologize. Can't buy from people who treat their own like that." One reviewer, apparently a former employee, wrote, "Heard from Susan Reynolds herself. The daughter got zero support while the rest partied. Toxic leadership." Ratings dropped to 2.8 stars. Social media picked it up. Fashion bloggers shared the story, tagging competitors. Orders slowed. A few wholesale accounts emailed cancellations. Michael checked his email on his phone. Bank confirmed receipt of the removal form, processing in 5 to 7 business days. He looked at me. "You're almost free of that debt." I exhaled slowly. The cafe noise faded for a moment. This wasn't about punishing anyone anymore. It was about closing doors that had only ever opened one way. We paid the bill and walked out into the afternoon light. Summit's offer felt tangible now, a real path out. The reviews kept coming in waves, each one chipping at Harper Apparel's image. Vendors followed suit with stricter terms. I forwarded the latest cancellation to the general company inbox, no intervention from me. Back home later, I watched the review count climb. Michael's quiet support had made the difference. His resources turned suspicion into evidence. Susan's texts stopped after I blocked her number. The manipulation failed because I no longer cared what she thought. The deal was moving forward. For the first time in years, the future belonged to me. 1 month later, at our apartment in Brooklyn, I opened my laptop to an email from Amanda with the subject line, "Please, we need to talk." The body was long and pleading. "Chelsea, I know things are bad right now, but the spa deal is falling apart without the fund. Landlord pulled the lease because I couldn't show proof of financing. Mom and Dad have always supported my dreams since I was little. They made sure I had everything. You were always the responsible one, but this isn't fair to me. Just release the hold for old time's sake. You're my sister. She attached photos of the empty space she'd planned to renovate, along with quotes from contractors. The tone dripped with the same entitlement she'd carried since childhood, expecting help because she'd never had to earn it the hard way. I skimmed it and moved on without replying. Minutes later, a certified letter arrived via email scan from my lawyer. It was from my parents' firm, full of legal jargon, notice of potential claim for breach of fiduciary duty, interference with business relations, and unauthorized actions. They threatened suit if I didn't restore access to all accounts immediately. My lawyer called within the hour after I forwarded it. He laughed dryly. They don't have a leg to stand on. The power of attorney is ironclad. You were granted full authority years ago, and every transaction log shows you acted within scope. Michael's evidence on the unauthorized co-signature seals it. No judge would touch this without proof of misconduct on your part, and there is none. I'd love to see them try and discover the wedding skip and Hawaii photos would make great exhibits. I thanked him and filed the letter away. No response needed. The threat felt hollow, another attempt to scare me back into line. By mid-afternoon, the fallout hit harder. An urgent email from our largest vendor chain, the one supplying premium fabrics for our flagship line, stated they were terminating the contract effective immediately. Due to ongoing payment delays and recent public concerns about company leadership, we can no longer extend terms. All future orders require cash in advance. Attached was a list of outstanding invoices now due in full. The review storm had done its work. Suppliers read the comments, saw the boycott calls, and decided the risk wasn't worth it. Harper Apparel lost that deal worth hundreds of thousands annually, our biggest single account. My phone rang around dinner time. It was Aunt Susan's voice, sharp and accusatory. I saw the vendor pull out. This is on you, Chelsea. You think you're so smart, but you're destroying everything your parents built. Amanda's devastated, and now the whole family's paying for your tantrum. You were always jealous of her, always trying too hard, always failing to measure up. Stop this nonsense before it's too late. I let her rant for a minute, then spoke quietly. Susan, the only thing I'm destroying is the pattern where I fix everything while getting nothing back. If the family falls apart, it's because no one else stepped up. She sputtered, throwing in more barbs about my selfish choices and how I'd never fit in. I ended the call mid-sentence and blocked her number. Michael came home shortly after carrying takeout. He set the bags down and checked his messages. Lawyer confirmed the cosigner removal process today. You're officially off that SUV loan, no more liability. He sat beside me on the couch. And Summit wired the first tranche this morning. Funds cleared. We can close the full deal next week. We ate in comfortable silence for a while. The apartment felt different now, lighter, like space had opened up. Outside the city hummed, but inside the weight of years lifted piece by piece. Amanda sent one more desperate text. Please, Chelsea, I can't start over. I deleted it unread. The company's problems mounted without my intervention. More emails from smaller vendors, more review spikes. The public narrative had taken hold, and no amount of threats or guilt could reverse it. I had stepped away, and for the first time the consequences landed where they belonged. 2 months later, under Boston's crisp fall sky, I had settled into our new house on a quiet street in the South End. Boxes still lined the hallway, but the place already felt like ours, no echoes of old obligations. That Sunday evening, while Michael graded papers at the kitchen table, an old company Zoom link popped up on my laptop, family meeting. I hadn't logged in for weeks, but curiosity won. I joined with my camera off and mic muted just to listen. The screen filled with familiar faces, Mom and Dad in their living room looking tired under harsh lighting. Amanda in what seemed like a small apartment, eyes red. Aunt Susan joined from her home office, wine glass in hand. They started talking over each other right away. Dad pointed at Mom. If you'd just gone to the wedding like I suggested, none of this would have happened. You pushed the Hawaii trip too hard. Mom shot back, voice cracking. Don't blame me, Chelsea's the one who locked everything down. She stole our company, our life. Amanda burst into tears. My spa's gone. Landlord evicted me last week. I can't even pay rent now. Why did she do this to us? Susan leaned in, smirking. Because she's always been jealous. From the day she was born, she tried to prove something, but she never measured up. Now she's ruined everything just to get even. Pathetic. They kept going in circles, blaming each other, blaming me, never once saying sorry. No one mentioned the empty chairs at my wedding or the family forever caption. It was all about money image and how unfair it was that I stopped playing fixer. I watched in silence, feeling detached, like watching strangers argue. Michael noticed my expression and came over. He sat beside me, peering at the screen. Want me to end it? I shook my head. Instead, he pulled up a file on his tablet. While you were listening, I finished the trust search. Your grandmother Margaret left something specific. He had spent weeks coordinating with the estate attorney using records from the old family bank. The trust was real, set up years before she passed. Principal wouldn't release until I'd been financially independent from Harper Apparel for 2 full years, with proof of unrelated income. Freelance consulting and the summit sale qualified. Attached was her handwritten note, read aloud by the attorney over a prior call. Dear Chelsea, it began in her careful script. I've watched your mother chase status until it consumed her. You've carried the load while getting little respect. If they ever put themselves above you, take this way out. Build something yours. Don't look back unless it's with pride. Michael squeezed my hand. It's yours now. Clean funds, no strings from them. The amount was substantial enough for the house down payment and more. It wasn't revenge money. It was protection she had quietly arranged. Outside, the streetlights came on. Inside the Zoom call, continued voices rising, then falling into exhausted silence. They didn't know I was there. They never would. No apologies emerged, only more finger-pointing. The fallout had accelerated in those final weeks. The big house in the suburbs went into foreclosure after missed mortgage payments, credit scores tanked from unpaid business debts they'd relied on me to manage. Banks wouldn't refinance without my signature anymore. Amanda took a part-time cashier job at a mall in Jersey, her spa dream shelved indefinitely. Mom and Dad sold most of their things and moved into a small condo downtown, away from the neighborhood they'd once lorded over. Local business boards quietly removed their seats. Invitations dried up. Harper Apparel shuttered 2 smaller stores' vendor lines, cut foot traffic down from the relentless reviews. No lawsuits materialized. Their lawyer backed off after my attorney sent the power of attorney logs and loan evidence. The case would have exposed too much. I closed the laptop. Michael turned off the lights in the living room. We sat on the couch. The city sounds distant. For years, I'd held my breath, waiting for them to show up to see me. Now I could finally exhale. No more calls, no more emails, no more guilt trips. I blocked the last numbers and deleted the group chats. The silence felt earned. Michael pulled me close. You did what you had to. I nodded. We were building something new, our life on our terms. The past stayed where it belonged, behind us.